Oh, okay. So, good morning here. Good afternoon there. Well, I have the opportunity to have a chat with you guys there in Australia, a country that I really love, and a country that I've been living in, and actually have part of my family from there. So I'm really happy and glad to have the opportunity to have a talk about the topic what we are going to cover today, which is international branding and sport. So just a brief introduction of myself, and then let's go into the content of the presentation today. Something that, as you could reckon, we will not have much time to cover deeply some of the concepts that we will go through, but it's just to give you a taste about what potentially master in sport management we can cover. So basically, my name is Ramiro Lahera, which is a very Spanish name. I've been working in the sport industry in more than the last 10 years of my professional career. Originally, I just started in the finance industry, and then I decided in 2003 to just change my professional life and basically take the reins of my life and be involved in what I'm passionate about, which is the sport. I'm a sport person myself, and then I just decided, well, okay, what about combining my professional experience after after 13 years in international corporations and try to apply it in the sport industry. So, and then I went to, is when I just take some time off, and I went to Australia, and well, I traveled around the world, and I went to Australia to study a master's program. Um, um, Sorry, I can't hear myself in the background.
I can hear myself in the background.
Could you turn off this because it's a little bit disturbing? Okay, perfect now. Okay, well, and then after this time in Australia, that I spent 2 years studying a master's program in sport management. I came back to Spain, and then I had the opportunity to get into the sport business. Always working in the sport events part of the industry, and always related with the sport sponsorship, and well, I have the opportunity to work in an Olympic bid in 2016 Madrid Olympic bid. Also, I work in the Basketball World Cup, in Spanish 2014 Basketball World Cup, and now I'm running my own sport company, basically focusing the mass participation sport industry events, and well, and then this is what I'm doing. So after this brief introduction, let's go to the content. So basically, well, I can imagine that some of you or most of you will be very familiarized with concepts of management, marketing, and all the stuff. But I always try to start from the scratch to build up the building of the learning process. And even if some of you are very familiar with what we are going to start from, I think it's important to talk about things that possibly people know that will help me to support my arguments when we'll get into the sport management side of the topic we are covering today, which is how to use sport to brand private and public brands. We will see what I'm talking about from two perspectives: how an international brand uses sport to market itself worldwide, and how places, cities, countries use sport to position themselves in order to compete in the world. So let me go from the basis. What marketing, branding, the role of sport in the marketing world, and what sport marketing will be. So in a very colloquial way, this very simple definition of what marketing is, which is, don't take it for granted, because it's a lot of behind this definition. Basically, marketing at least is how I internalize it, is any sort of actions to raise expectations from my target market and potential market in order to sell my services and products. But in order to do this, you need to know your market. You need to know how to get your market. You need to know where your target market is, how to achieve your target market, to really exactly determine which actions you are gonna put in place to really achieve this market. So it's very simple, but is everything what you do to sell your products and sell your services. And even if you don't, your goal is not to sell products, but to get funds, for example, that definition could be also applied. So let's go to branding. It's a more complex concept, or at least more difficult to simplify, because branding is just not about having a logo or a beautiful design. It's much more than this. It's what you are telling your potential markets to think about you. It's how your target market will interact your brand or your company. And normally is based in what makes you different, what will give you competitive advantage in order to really get access to your target market. So it's about values, it's about attributes, it's about what makes you different, strengths, and is what will help you to position it in the market. So basically, branding comes before any sort of marketing action. Basically, it's part of this what is called strategic marketing. And then, well, the market or the image that the marketing will have, just try to visualize the Apple logo of Apple and what is behind. This is a really good branding strategy. It's basically what comes to you when you see a logo, or when you see an image representing a company. And doesn't matter which company. So this is what is called branding strategy. Is basically, first, know what makes you different. Second, just leverage a whole strategy to really communicate what all these values on how you want to be seen by your target market. So basically, it's part of the marketing because it's a promise. It's a promise to your target market. It's a raise of expectation of your target market. So now that we know what branding is, what marketing is, what branding is, then let's go to sport. Okay, what is the role of sport? Because marketing and sport, the definitions that we have gone through can be applied to any sort of product. But now let's try to discuss a bit more about what sport is as a product and what makes it unique in terms of product. Well, sport, I just list here some characteristics of a sport, and then which is intangible. You cannot touch it, you cannot control because it's very subjective. A lot of passion involved. Unpredictable. You don't know the result of a football match, of a FAL match, of a footy match. You don't know. It's exciting, and the result, the outcome of the sport as a product can be one or can be another one, and it's always subjective because it's depending on how you experience it. Have involvement of consumers, very intense, very social, temporal, and above all, very emotional and passion involved. And this is what makes so attractive the sport in terms of marketing. Marketing nowadays is about emotions. The way to really raise the expectation of your target market is through emotions. In our current society where the access to information is huge, and you have access to any information that you need about buying a product, the difference between one product and another normally is very, very tiny, and depends on how emotional are you in terms of getting your target market to buy your products. And because the sport is very emotional and very strong in values, is the reason because it's so important in terms of marketing. And that will give me the opportunity to talk about what sport marketing is. So we went through what is marketing, we went through what is branding, we went through a sort of definition of the sport as a product, and now let's go to sport marketing. And then just to give me, let's put a bracket here and talk about a sport management MBA, for example. You know, any MBA will have common subjects about what you need to know about management: strategic management, finance, human resources, management skills, and so on. What makes different a sport management MBA? The industry. And there is two parts of the industry that will have to be covered in a sport management master's. One is sport marketing, very key aspect in the sport industry, and the other one will be operations, sport operations. You know, operations in sport management is basically how you deliver the product, and then I will divide or is how I structure in two ways. You know, operations in venue management through venue management, and operations through event management, sport event management. And here, what we are covering is sport marketing. So any sport master program should have sport marketing subjects and sport operation subjects, because and then obviously you will have to add finance and human resources and strategic management and all these subjects that are coming to any other masters. Here we are talking about sport marketing. Sport marketing will be any marketing that have sport involved in it. And there we'll see two approaches. Sport marketing of sport is when the product, when you are marketing, or you are marketing a sport property or sport product. That could be a fitness studio, could be a club, could be a league, could be any sort of sport property or sport product, and then you have to market and promote it in order to sell your product. If you are an event, to sell tickets. If you are a mass participation sport, just try to make the participants to enroll in your event to participate on it. So that will be marketing of sport. And then the second part, where the sport is extremely important and extremely strong, is where come the idea of sport attached with emotions. Is when a company that doesn't have anything to do with the sport incorporate in its marketing strategy and its marketing actions the sport. And normally this is done through sponsorship programs. It's when a company decide to get associated with a sport property in order to promote their products to the target market. That would be sport marketing through sport. So that cover through three aspects that I consider the basement of the topic that we are covering today. What is marketing? What is branding? What is sport as a product? And what is sport marketing? So let's go to the topic that the class or the conference or the chat is about today. What is international branding, and what for? You know, what is the reason of the brands to do a branding strategy to position themselves worldwide? You know, there is no doubt that nowadays business successful normally depends on people and how global your product is. So if you want to be success in the world, you need to be global and have an extremely skilled management team. And then, you know, companies compete worldwide, and even places compete worldwide. So you know, international branding is not about private brandings competing worldwide. It's not about Apple, it's not about Coca-Cola, it's not about Procter & Gamble, but it's also about places. It's also about Australia competing to attract investment, to attract companies that want to relocate their business or open branches there. And you know, it's not only about Australia competing to position itself in the global markets. It's about China competing, it's about Europe competing, it's about UK competing, and it's about Spain competing. So now, and maybe international branding it was not something important in the middle of the 20th century, but nowadays in the beginning of the 21st century is something that is important. And this the issue that comes here as together is the role of the sport in all these international brands. So let's start it. You know, as I told you, I'm gonna approach this topic and let you guys to ask me some questions. I think it will take me about 15 to 20 minutes more, and then let's start to analyze international branding from a private brand. And I'm going to use an example. So, and then how a company use the sport to position themselves, to position itself globally. And I remember seeing, opening a camper shop in Sydney. I think it was about 2004, something. I think it was one of the first shops of camper in Australia. You know, some of you maybe don't know Camper. Camper is a shoes company. It's a familiar, actually, maybe you don't know, but it's not an international brand originally. It comes from a family business from an island in Spain, from the Balear Island. It's called Mallorca. And then it used to be very small company, based in designing different sort of casual shoes. And then in 2010, 2012, decided to become global and to not to become global and to set up, launch and global strategy. So, but they have very reduced budget in marketing. Basically, how we are gonna promote our products and our company worldwide. And as you can see in the screen, you will see companies like Oracle, Fly, Emirates, Omega, Nespresso, all of them global and international corporations. Camper was not. And they decided to do a strategy, take it the sport sponsorship of sailing and of sailing to sport properties, in this case, America's Cup and Volvo Ocean Race, as the core part of its marketing strategy. They didn't have much more money to spend in something else. Basically, all its strategy was about getting associated with the sport, with a sport property that will help them to position themselves as a global brand, becoming from a very local and familiar brand. That was the strategy. Nowadays, Camper has 400 shops worldwide, 2,350 retail points, and they are selling about 4 million pairs worldwide. And the good case about this, it was how different the strategy will be from a company like Procter & Gamble, who is one of the main sponsors of the Olympic movement. So they are sponsoring as part of their marketing strategy, not the core, not the center or the central part of the strategy, the Olympic Games. And they activate it and they do a lot of other marketing actions. Here in the case of Camper, they took the sponsoring of the America's Cup and the Volvo Ocean Race of the central part of its strategy, and it worked well. And why? Because you have to keep in mind which sort of consumers are consuming the America's Cup. Then what it comes here now is to define the America's Cup as a product, you know, and what the product is positioned. Basically, and then, you know, it's very good time to talk about the America's Cup. But as you will know, the America's Cup 36th edition of America's Cup is going on right now in Bermuda Island, something that we will discuss later on. So basically, they were trying to get to the market that was consuming this international sport event, which is the America's Cup. You normally add middle up class who are attracted by sailing and who are attracted by the America's Cup, which will be the Formula One of sailing. And then just they were very active first as a first sponsor program in the Camper, sponsoring the New Zealand team, And then second, the ball boys and rams, which is a completely different product. Just if we compare with athleticism, with athletics, the America's Cup will be the 100 meters, and the ball boys and race, a more endurance competitions will be the marathon competition. So we have different markets, different sport competitions, but worldwide non-competitions in sailing. And then just to come into another very important aspect, which is into the sport marketing, which is into the sport marketing of a sport and through a sport, which is the reasons because companies sponsor sport. Okay, and then I listed here some of the objectives that a brand is trying to achieve when they are deciding to incorporate a sport in the marketing plans. And then I put it in red, trying to highlight the ones that in this case study Camper was trying to achieve. Increase the brand scope and exposure globally, intensify and extend the space of time related with the visibility, migrate values, migrate values from the sport, in this case the America's Cup and sailing, to a Camper brand, make the brand global with the common perceptions, universal, just try to get one sport property and make it work globally depending on the market, and extend the physical presence of the brand. So as you can see, there are listed other objectives here I'm not going to get into, because as I mentioned in the beginning of the session, there is a lot of concepts that will need to be developed in a very deeper part. That will be a whole sport management program, and in this case will be sport marketing subjects. Okay, but this is an example. And then now, after seeing a case study about how is used a sport in order to brand a brand and make it global, let's go to another very important part of what is going on right now in the world is city marketing. And well, as you see, if you mention Sydney anywhere in the world, something will come to the people about Sydney, right? The light, the opera house, the bridge, the beaches. And this is what place branding is about. This is what city marketing is about. Make the people and the target market to really internalize what they will expect if they go to Sydney, what they will expect if they go and spend some time to Sydney, or they go to study in Sydney, or they go to open a branch in Sydney and try to open market in Sydney. This is what city marketing will be. But this is a first and step before, which is place branding. And as we mentioned about branding, place branding will be what? Branding a place. So basically will be first knowing what makes the place different. When I'm talking about a place, we're talking about regions, we're talking about countries, or even we are talking about cities. And we are, cities are competing, regions are competing, and even little teeny tiny villages are competing between themselves. And then this is what place branding is about. It's just to transmit the attributes and what makes different a place to your potential market. And the city marketing will be how to conduct this competitive advantage to your target market in order to achieve your goals. Both concepts very related with a strategy and the need than a city or a country, the need of having a proper strategy. So then, one that we have define what city marketing is and what place branding is, let's try to analyze the role of the sport in all this. So basically, the city marketing comes from the need of places to compete worldwide in the 21st century, and the role of the sport in this competition, and that comes why? That comes from how strong in emotions is the sport in order to compete with other destinations. Of course, there are levels. You know, the metropolis, big metropolis like Sydney or Madrid or London or New York are in different levels than other small cities like maybe Harbour in Tasmania, which is a different level of city that maybe will compete with other less known places. Any place we could compete if has something that differentiate themselves, and normally can have to do with the sport. Okay, and a sport from two approaches, and then has to do also with tourism. Sport is a sport to consume the sport product watching it. That will be the passive approach. And the second one, the active approach, is sport to consume it, being part of it. That will be the active approach. There will be, and then normally people go to see sport to other places and go to do a sport to other places and to be and to participate in a sport. So let me see through different case studies how sport is used to compete with other companies. You know, this is a tourism campaign, did it in Spain in 2010, 2012, to promote Spain as a tourist destination and implement a whole strategy around sport. Okay, you know, exploiting the image of Spanish athletes, using sport ambassadors. You know, this is where we are just normally city marketing strategies are seen as how to use events to promote destinations and places, but also very important is how to use ambassadors, how to use athletes to promote yourself. Obviously, you need to have global athletes, as the case of Spain is how you will use athletes like Rafael Nadal, Fernando Alonso, or Pau Gasol, you know, well-known international athletes to promote Spain as a brand. And then they use this claim about I need Spain, and then they do a whole strategy to promote the sport destination from the tourist perspective of Spain, you know. And then this whole communication use not only ambassadors, but also very strong properties, like, for example, the national football soccer team that, you know, that was at the time that Spain was a World Cup champion, and also, why not, Real Madrid, okay? So, and then leveraging the Made of Spain sport properties as vehicle of Visit Spain, I Need a Spain messages. So that was a sport tourism strategy, getting around sport properties, getting around sport, and getting around sport ambassadors. And why? Because, you know, it's a very easy way to communicate and to influence in your target market and to make a really to strengthen your messages about what makes Spain different, right? So I think it was brilliant. And then I'm going to try to put two videos to visualize how that was using. The first one will be about motorbike GP bikers, world champions, GP bikers, the three world champions from different parts of Spain, talking dressed as a motorbiker and talking about different parts of Spain where they are coming from and what makes these parts different. So let's try to put the video and share with you this action.
Mallorca es una isla muy bonita, tiene muchísimas playas preciosas.
Empezaría por Barcelona. Tiene cantidad de rincones y de obras bonitas como las de Gaudí, como Montserrat, ciudades como Girona o Tarragona, y mi sitio favorito, ¿no?, que es Cadaqués, es donde vivió mucho tiempo Salvador Dalí.
Donde tienes mucho que visitar es en Valencia, donde hay la ciudad de las artes y las ciencias,
al lado del oceanográfico.
Dentro de Palma es bonito. El paseo marítimo de Palma tiene bastantes discotecas, se estren con agua cristalina. Antes del fútbol, pues a veces voy a Camp Nou. El campo es magnífico.
La parte de Andalucía, ya que allí se respira un ambiente diferente y cuando voy allí me lo paso muy bien.
¿Cómo?
Me encanta surfear y los dos puntos
No te digo, tío.
son Tarifa, San Sebastián, Tarao.
Dile que a Marisa la llamo yo ahora.
Una comida típica que
¿Qué tal va?
recomendaría y además una de mis favoritas es el embutido acompañado con pan con tomate.
Y con ustedes, la ensaimada de Mallorca.
Visit Spain. Visit Spain.
Visit Spain.
Well, just let me draw your attention to another very important concept in terms of management and marketing, which is segmentation. Why is this important? Maybe you are not interested in motorbikers, in motorbike, in GP. So then you will not know these guys. But if you are passionate about motorbiking and you are watching the Philley Island GP event every year, you will know who are these guys. So then you will have an emotional attachment to these guys because these guys are champions of what you love, which is GP. And these guys are telling you where they are coming from. They are telling you what they like about what they are coming from. And they're telling you what makes different what they are from. So basically, the Spain brand is leveraging a whole action around these three guys to try to influence people that are passionate about motorbiking. So I think it's brilliant, right? But this is about what segmentation is. So, you know, if you are not a motorbiker fan, you will not see that. But what about if you are a Real Madrid fan? Then you will see that, which is also very brilliant action.
Em primeiro lugar, gosto do clima. Eu gosto também muito das pessoas, que são muito parecidas com os portugueses. Besten gefällt mir, dass die Leute sehr, sehr leidenschaftlich sind, dass sie für Fußball leben. Aqui em Madrid, recomendaria Plaza Maior, a Puerta do Sol e o Palácio Real.
Museum gehen oder Theater besuchen oder Flohmärkte.
La Latina me recuerda mucho a Rosario, mi ciudad.
Quand on va à Madrid, c'est vrai qu'il faut manger, il faut goûter ce qu'on appelle les tapas. C'est quelque chose de super bon. C'est de ça que je parlais, les tapas.
O Ramon, que é especial.
Saio com minha mulher, saio com meu filho, vou ao Parque do Retiro. Cuando tengo una tarde libre, pues me gusta ir a dar una vuelta, de compras, al cine.
Me gusta dejarme caer por algún tablao flamenco porque en Madrid hay artistas de gran talento.
Visit Spain, Madrid.
Visit Spain, visit Madrid.
Visit Spain, visit Madrid.
Visit Spain, visit Madrid.
Well, I think this example is even better. Actually, Real Madrid, well known worldwide, they're using their players, you know, from completely different countries, you know, speaking in their language, you know, a Turkish, German, Argentinian, French, even a Spaniard, speaking about what do they like about Madrid. You know, why you should go to Madrid, why you should visit Spain and then visit Madrid. So now for sure, after watching this video, you will love to come to Madrid and maybe watch a Real Madrid match and also why not, to enjoy what makes different Madrid. So if you see, and if you have noticed, the players which are the ambassadors of the Madrid brand and Spain brand, what they are telling you is what makes Madrid different. So I think it's brilliant, and they are using sport to branding Spain. So another example, you know, remember that there were three things that I wanted to cover from the city marketing perspective. One was well, case studies is was a very brilliant campaign of Spain about how to promote a tourist destination. Well, the second one will be the case of America's Cup. I think it's a very good example. America's Cup traditionally have been in big locations, in New Zealand, in Auckland, in San Francisco, in US, or in Valencia. But what makes different this edition is where it's located and where it's hosted, which is in Bermuda Island. Bermuda Island, as a tourist destination, is a very exclusive tourist destination, and what they are looking for is using an international event, to position itself as a exclusive tourist destination around the water, and in this case around the sports, the water sports, and in this case using America's Cup to brand Bermuda as this sort of sport where you can enjoy sailing, and it's a perfect place to indulge yourself and enjoy sailing. Well, and then just to finish my presentation today, and then give you some chances to ask me some questions. The city marketing and Olympics. If something, I always tell the students that there are a lot of sport events. Basically, there are millions of sport events organized worldwide. But in the pyramid of sport events, you always will have on the summit, on the peak of the pyramid, the Olympic Games. There is not bigger sport event in the world, and actually not only sport events, but any sort of event is always smaller than the Olympics. You know it well because you host two Olympics in Melbourne and Sydney, and one recently in Melbourne 2000. There are 28 World Championships in 15 days in one spot. There are around 300 events happening, and an audience of 3.7 billion people watching the events at least once during these 15 games. So basically, I was involved in a research about the influence of the events of the Olympic Games in terms of city marketing to the cities that host the Olympic Games, from Barcelona. And there was the idea is just to, if you see the second chart, is through an objective analysis, analyzing the place branding aspects, because brands are ranked, also countries and cities are ranked in terms of branding by international consultant firms. Olympic legacy, how many tourists have come after hosting the games, brand equity, and also the facility reuse is how the facilities built up during the games have been used afterwards after them. So basically, if you see the different scores, a total overall marketing score was Barcelona 36, Sydney 35, Atlanta 21, Athens 15, Beijing 27, and 2000 and London 2032. Okay, because I don't have time today to do. If we'll have more time, we'll go in detail to all this research. But what is important is the results. The conclusions. Basically, the results showed a clear success in the exposure of the city brand to the enormous Olympic audience. The most important part of the Olympic city marketing campaign for long-term improvements to the city brand is the legacy. What is after the games, and what the city keep after the games in order to promote and position itself in the world. And Athens, for many different reasons, was found to be the city that benefited the least from the hosting the games, and Sydney were the city who had the best legacy plan. However, they failed to achieve the desired impact on the city brand. And the final conclusion, something that in the city world, I mean in the Olympic world, is always mentioned that Barcelona was the best, the first Olympics on the modern Olympic era. And but at the end of the day, the before was a before and after of the Barcelona. Is the city which used the Olympic Games in the best way in order to market themselves, and the Barcelona brand is extremely well known in many, basically, and I just I don't have to be shy about saying that, basically because the Barcelona Games. Well, there is some recommendations of the Olympic Games that I'm gonna get into, because I think I want to give you at least 10 to 15 minutes to make me questions. It was very difficult to try to really do a summarize all these concepts that I went through in 40 minutes. But I think it just was some pills to really know you what a potential marketing MBA in sport management could cover and have to be analyzed in all this. As I tell you, sport marketing, sport as a product, operations in sport, the importance of sport events, and how to use sport in terms of branding, in terms of marketing, and well, of this city marketing and place branding concept. So I'm just on your disposal to ask me whatever you need and whatever you want to know for the next 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, thanks. That was really interesting, and it's obviously such strong brands as Real Madrid and Spain. Really interesting to hear those as the examples. Question I have really about sports marketing is often the event is a single event that, like the America's Cup, the Olympics, well, that's a major event, but it only happens once every 4 years. If you're investing in your brand and you're investing in it, how do you get the length of time? Obviously, you get a great deal of exposure when the event is happening, but in between that time, how do you extend the coverage during the sort of off-season, as it were?
Well, this is a very good question. And, and it's a very good question that will be about 30 minutes discussion, because, okay, this is you're completely right. But in terms of the event, which is a sport property, will be very interesting to analyze what the America's Cup have been doing since America's Cup 2013 in San Francisco, which is try to fulfill these 4 years with content. That the competition of America's Cup is a defender against a challenger. The main sponsor of the America's Cup is Louis Vuitton, an exclusive brand sponsoring an exclusive event. Well, there has been a Louis Vuitton series hosting in different places in the world, where these challengers have been competing in different locations worldwide to prepare themselves to the final run, which are 5 to 6 boats, teams, competing right now to become the final challenger. So they reinvented the original sport events that was just 4 years and organized by the defender, choosing a spot and then do just 4 3 weeks competitions. Now they are trying to reinvent it, trying to doing things to get notoriety during the events. Another example, the America's Cup created the Red Bull America's Cup, which is young talents, sailors competing, doing this 4 years between 2013 2017, using the brand of America's Cup during the games, an endeavor program, trying to, in terms of society, doing specific programs to help people to get education through the sailing, and has its own sponsorship program, using all boats. So as you see, they have tried to keep the flame like the Olympics. You know, at the end of the day, the Olympics is not about 15 days every 4 years. It's about what is going on during these 4 years, you know, and the involvement of the host city, the organizing committee, the National Olympic Committee, the Olympic International federations, and have to get associated with Olympic rings and doing actions during the 4 years time, you know, because, you know, the Olympians are the 4 years between the Olympic Games, right? And then I think the case of the America's Cup and how it changed these last 4 years in order to improve the product, which is the event. It's a good case about, well, okay, I'm sponsoring the event, and okay, what about the 3 or 4 years before the event? Okay, is how to enrich the product in order to make it more attractive to get associated with private sponsors.
Hey Ramiro, it's Justin here. How are you, man?
Hi, Justin.
How are you?
Well, I know this guy.
Hey, just out of interest, because one of the things you mentioned earlier in your presentation was the emotion, and I thought that was particularly interesting. And I just wonder, on a general level, could you comment on the role that, say, emotion plays in getting people along to these events?
Well, it's emotions is what lead the world right now. It's just how you are able to touch people's heart. And if you see something like cars, if you see a BMW commercial, it's just not about the car. It's about what you will feel if you drive a BMW. So they are trying to touch you to make you, you know, you will be a special person driving a BMW. So this is about the experience that will bring you over with the product, okay? Yeah. Then, if you bring over the sport, that is even harder, it's stronger. I'm going to put you an example, and just you decide to train for a marathon, okay? And then, as you know, everybody have friends or even yourself that you have run a marathon. And at the end of the day, you run your marathon and your family run the marathon as well. Why? Because you train, you have to get up, you have to tell your wife, okay, sorry, I have to go out and do the day trainer. And then you just arrive from job, and then, well, okay, you have to wash the dishes and just put the kids on bed, but you have to train. You have to train. And the problem is that you have already enrolled in the Sydney Marathon, London Marathon, and the marathon is in 4 months' time, okay? So you are on the shadow. You remember the Under Armour marketing campaign? It's what you do on the dark, what you put you on the light. So basically, this is your shadow time. You are training every day, your family is training every day, and then you are promising your wife, okay, I'm taking you to Barcelona to run a marathon, okay? I will do what I want, which is run the marathon, and then we'll stay 1 week. I pay for it, of course, and enjoying the city, okay? And then this is your life for 4-6 months. You are passionate about, you know, it's just not about consuming a product. It's not about, it's just about emotions. And the emotion that you will feel when you pass the line and you will finish the Barcelona will be attached with the sport product, which is a marathon, with the sponsors, that will be Zurich in this time, the main sponsors, and with the city, okay? So basically, this is emotions. And then if you, and then it doesn't matter which product and which sport you can tell me. K1 Ultimate Fighting, the same. It's a completely different brand, completely different product, will be the same. Formula One, Real Madrid, La Liga, the Premier League, doesn't matter. I bring you over an example that is very, you can visualize because all of you know somebody who have spent and get completely obsessed about, for example, training for an Ironman. And then you train for an Ironman, you spend $500 to enroll in an Ironman, you spend about $10,000 in a bike, and then you spend part of your life training for an Ironman. And then the passion about getting into an Ironman is what makes this very interesting in terms of marketing and segmentation and how you can achieve in terms of branding and your brand and your product. These people who are completely passionate about what they are doing and completely committed. It's like about the feeling of driving a BMW. It's about the feeling about what the experience bring you, the experience bring you the sport. And it doesn't matter if you are passionate about watching sport or if you are passionate about doing the sport. I hope I answered your question.
I think you did, Ramiro. I loved it because for me it got to the very essence. And it was about, say if it was an Ironman, then that person fully invests themselves into doing it. And I think that the reason why people go along is because they need to admire it. You know, you want to make yourself better. So
well, this is the reason, because in Australia there is a corporate triathlon circuit. A sponsor, I think last time that I saw it was Nissan sponsored, but you always have investment banking or a consultancy firm, and basically they are using a mass sport which is an aspirational sport, an aspirational event where the corporations can get involved, and you have the brand 2XU tailor making your 3 suits to compete on it. And and this is a very good case study about how to use the sport to market corporations and to attract corporations on board. So it's a sign of a very mature market in terms of the sport industry, and in this case about the mass participation in sport industry, which is something that I know pretty well.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Emma. Is muted. Nuno is muted. You guys don't want to jump in, ask any questions of Ramiro?
Hi, Ramiro. I have one question for you.
Hello,
what are some of the trends you're seeing in corporate branding when it comes to sports marketing, or the more recent trends at least?
You mean trends?
I guess styles in what a corporation.
Well, I know what trends means exactly, but I didn't understand your accent. Okay, the new trends. Well, yes. Do you remember what I told you at the beginning? If you are looking for investors, and it doesn't matter if you are business angels or family and friends, or you want to become capital risk, or depends on the level of your business plans you are. The people who really run this business always tell you the key aspects about becoming successful in the global business scenario is just the team and be a global product. Okay, so the trends right now is just, and I think the answer about your questions will be the case of camper, but it depends of how your business is about and your business model is. It's nothing to do Coca-Cola with Procter & Gamble. But let me answer you with one example that came to me when I say Coca-Cola. Okay, Coca-Cola. Everybody knows Coca-Cola. The first first investor in sport sponsorship programs, right? Okay, Coca-Cola is changing completely his brand strategy. Now they are trying to run away from the product and come into the idea of the experience that the consuming Coca-Cola will bring to the people. It's not about the product. It's not about Coca-Cola Light, Coca-Cola Zero. It's about what you will experience if you consume Coca-Cola. So basically, and everybody knows what's happening about Coca-Cola, and this is about how it affects the health, the sugar, and all the stuff. But in terms of marketing, they are moving from a product marketing strategy to a brand strategy, right? And they are leveraging on sport. They're using sport to make it easier to get to the people. And then they use it during the Euro 2016 in Europe. They were going to be, in one way or another, the main sponsor of the Euro, because they are main sponsor of the Olympics. They are main sponsor. They are very, very into the sponsors. But what was curious is how they use their new brand strategy in order to activate their sponsorship of the Euro, using the idea of taste the feeling, which is the new branding claim, to activate the sponsorship program. So I will say this is the new trends, and no forget about the digital side of the business. And trying to, this is, I remember before I was discussing with somebody about what is going to happen with the Formula One. You know, the Formula One was bought by an American company. Not recently was named, of course, Formula One, private owner, private brand, worldwide, well-known sport property, worldwide well-known brand, and with the audiences getting down and down and down. And what they just hired, they hired a person responsible of the new digital marketing strategy that comes from Walt Disney and Boston Consulting Group. If you read between the lines, what it means, first, Walt Disney. Nowadays, the big sport properties are not about the sport industry, it's about entertainment. It's about trying to monetize not the core products, it's also, what is around. The Real Madrid is not about making profitable the 100 members that Real Madrid has. It's trying to monetize the 500 million people who are fan about Real Madrid. So basically, they are a guy coming from the Walt Disney and a guy coming from Boston Consulting Group. If you are familiarized with the strategic management firms, it's a boutique strategic management firm that normally works with big corporations. So they just incorporate in the team a new guy to work on the digital aspects of the Formula One to make it more presence in the new era. So I would say, I will put you some examples, and what about the new trends will be about the global. Just never forget what the digital side of any campaign had to be the core of any marketing strategy. But it doesn't matter which company or which sport property. The digital, everything that you will put in place. The reasons because you will choose a sport sponsorship needs to work on digital, right? And need to be the central part of your marketing strategy. So if you are going to decide to sponsor or endorse Cristiano Ronaldo as part of your strategy, it needs to work in the digital channels, right? Alistair, I hope I answered your question.
You did, thank you.
Any other question, guys?
If we don't have any more questions there, I mean, we have reached the top of the hour. Ramiro, thank you very much indeed. That was very interesting, quite fascinating, and you have some unique insights that are really quite a pleasure to hear. So thank you very much for your time. Very much appreciated from this end.
Okay, thank you. Well, I hope to see you. Well, as Justin knows, because my Australian attachments, actually, I'm married with an Aussie, so I'm also lecturing in the masters in the sport marketing subject. So I'm looking forward to have the opportunity to know more Australian students and share. I really enjoy lecturing Australian students because they normally have a very high level, and it's always rich. I'm always learning from the students as well. So I'm looking forward to keep going lecturing in your masters and hope to meet you soon. So,
yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Nice to see you again, Justin.
See you, Ramiro. Take care, mate. Bye.
Stop recording.
Yeah.